Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Sunday. We are recording. I'm gonna go ahead, share my screen, and we'll jump in. As always, jump in with a question. Let me pull my chat up so I can see, show chat. So you can jump in the chat or you can jump in turn yourself off mute and jump in. Because I know there's gonna be a lot of sharing tonight, right? Okay, so we are talking about your high school state prep and your hydration. So I hope everybody came to the table with some things to chat about and what you're planning, anything you noticed from having to log. I know when we talked about y'all logging your food intake a couple weeks ago, there were some things I'm sure you guys kind of noticed along the way that you maybe thought you were doing and realized maybe you weren't doing, or vice versa. So hopefully we'll have some takeaways from doing the same with your hydration. Okay, so for high school state prep, I know I've walked y'all through, and like Coach Ross said, we've talked a bunch before some of these big meets with y'all as far as how to plan, some of my tips and tricks for traveling, what to pack, if we're cooking in, if we're bringing any cooked foods with us, what restaurants we're eating at, what we're bringing to the pool, making sure we have those things on deck. So tell me, I want to know, first of all, does anyone have any questions about going? I'm going to kind of start in reverse of my bullet points. Does anybody have any questions going into state before we get into some planning, prep, restaurants, meal planning, and what to pack? Does anyone have any questions? We're going to go through questions, any questions that y'all have. And then we're going to go through what y'all have done, what you plan to do, if you've made plans yet, if you haven't made plans yet, when you're leaving, those types of things. So first of all, hit me with some questions. Let me get at least a question before we move on. Or if you have no questions, tell me. My coach really likes a thing called Spark. What is your opinion? Spark is an energy supplement, correct, Ricky? Isn't that like a little powder?
Yes, I think it's like a little powder thing.
Yeah, why are they having you? They like to drink it, or they are promoting you to drink it?
Both.
I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think you need that. I'm all about adding in those powders and supplements into your water bottles that are loaded with electrolytes. Some of those supplements in turn come with some caffeine, which usually you can find an alternative that's caffeine free. Again, I've never drank a Spark. I know people that drink Sparks, and it is just as addictive as a coffee would be, that caffeine addiction. And if you're not used to drinking it, especially in that concentrated form like that, it's going to give you the jitters. Have you ever tried it, Ricky?
Like little sips, but not like a full
You haven't taken
thing.
the whole thing. Yeah, I'm not going to suggest it at all. And B, certainly don't try it the week of a meet. The worst thing, I know you have heard me say this before, the worst thing y'all can do is try something new right before a race, a meet, a competition, anything like that, because you don't know how your body's going to respond, and it could totally mess up your GI. It could, meaning give you some issues in the bathroom. It can, especially with the caffeine, it can interrupt your sleep. So you could have a harder time falling asleep, since if you're not used to taking in caffeine and you start taking it in the beginning, it's going to have a stronger effect on you rather than the person who drinks a cup of coffee every day, or like a Bang or any of those silly energy drinks every day. It's going to hit you a little differently. So if you start trying it for the first time, you're probably going to feel some interrupted sleep and you're going to feel really groggy about it. Kellen and Maddie to everyone. What about the sport caffeine jelly beans? No, I know Jelly Belly makes, they're kind of like endurance, little carb, sugary. If y'all have ever taken like goos or gels in, I know Jelly Belly makes something kind of equivalent to that. Again, I think you can get all of those without the caffeine. I just don't think it's necessary. What is your opinion on the Yasso yogurt bars? I mean, yeah, they're fine, Enzo. Some yogurt bars, they're not terrible at all. Again, as long as it doesn't upset your stomach. If that's like your, I think it's definitely a better alternative than like a whole dairy. Those Yasso bars are fine. Similar to, I think there's like a, the Halo Tops and some of those other things. Again, as long as your stomach, and we're just talking about like as a snack, Enzo, not as like a, we've kind of drifted away from high school prep, right? Okay. As a snack, I mean, don't eat like 6 at a time, right? It's all in balance and moderation, but those little Yasso bars are a fine little treat. Jack, okay, so now we're going back to high school prep. Gatorade gummies. I believe those Gatorade gummies are similar to gels and goos, and so they're just packed with some carbohydrates and some sugars for some quick energy. Those are fine, especially if you, here's the thing with those little supplements. So similar to a goo, those gel packs, these gummies, those things that are meant to give you additional energy for an endurance sport. Those things are typically intended for athletes who do long distance or long duration activities. So where you see marathon runners, triathlons, long bike course, those things that you would be eating, they're meant to be eaten during the activity. Y'all can't really pop those in underwater, right? So they would be fine to, like, if you need a little boost of energy, if your body has a hard time taking down, maybe you have 2 events that are pretty close to one another, you don't get a huge break between. So maybe you don't want to take in some actual food that's going to be slower digesting. You need that energy a little bit quicker. You have a quicker turnaround to get back in the pool. That's where these gummies and these gels and these fast acting carbohydrates would be beneficial to giving you that energy to get back in the pool. Does that make sense, guys? Those of you who just asked about the gummies, the jelly beans, those endurance focused supplements. Whoever asked about those, can you just give me like a yes or no? So if I need to go into more detail about what those are intended for.
No, I think that was what I was gonna ask, like in between like a short amount of time, like what should we have? So
Totally. Yeah. So if there's like a quick turnaround and it's not enough time for your stomach to really fully digest any of the snacks that we've kind of talked about in the past, like you don't have time to take down like a sandwich, or you don't have time to take down a granola bar, and you don't want that sitting on your stomach and you've got a quick turnaround, those little things would be fine. I would be mindful of making sure it doesn't have any additional caffeine, just because you'll know that's kind of what we want to avoid, just to avoid like the jitters, the shakes, all that. Enzo, what are your thoughts on liquid IV? I don't mind liquid IV. I think it's for hydration specifically, in addition to your water. I think it's great. It's going to be similar to sports drinks, similar to like those Pedialyte. I know Pedialyte has like a sport version now. Any of those with the additional sodium and the additional electrolyte. So I believe, I haven't looked at the back of a label of a liquid IV packet in a while, but I believe the liquid IV is really high in sugar and sodium, which are things we want for the energy for your sport. This isn't something I'll just be like sipping on. And Kaden, goodbye with that. And the sodium is great for sweat loss and sweat replenishment. Because remember, with our sweat loss, we are losing not just water, but or the liquid, but we're losing the sodium, the salt. That's why your sweat is salty. You're losing the sodium. So you have to replenish that as well. So those liquid IVs are fine, those little packets.
Right.
Liquid IV says 11 grams of sugar. Yeah, that's why Gaspar, those are gonna be good for hydration leading up to the event, or having it maybe an additional water bottle with you on the pool deck. Yep. Rice. Okay, we got to go back to Caden's Rice Krispies. Rice Krispie treats, the Rice Krispie cereal. What are we talking about here?
The Rice Krispie treats.
For what?
Like a quick turnaround race because it has like the sugars, the sodium, and carbs.
Ugh, I mean,
It's not the best choice, but it works. And it's super light.
yeah, I can't promote it. Oh, I thought Brandon was about to walk in. I'm like, I'm gonna get Brandon to answer that question. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it's loaded with simple sugar. So
Yeah.
if it's easy on your stomach, it's fine. You know, I'm gonna prefer something that is gonna be a little bit more complex, even if it's, you'll know how I feel about the Cliff Bars, but even if it's like something like a Cliff Bar where it has those oats in it, it's gonna be better. I mean, it's like a candy bar. Again, going back to like our long course athletes or our long course races, those sugary things are a little bit promoted a little bit more than I think what you guys are racing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I think the Rice Krispie treats still have less sugar than the liquid IV.
Less than 11 grams.
Oh yeah. They're like this big. They're like tiny.
Caden,
They're
you're
like,
lying.
what's that, Jack?
He's lying. There's no way.
There's no way. Unless they're like the size of my thumb. Oh, are they? I'm thinking like a Rice Krispie treat.
No, they're like half that size. And so the thing about it, I tried it last weekend at Metro's, which is like a step down from State.
Okay.
And I found that it like satisfied my hunger.
In your sweet tooth.
It gave me like a little bit of energy, so like I can like get through the race,
Okay.
but like just enough carbs, like I can get through like a single race.
Like a quick race.
Okay.
Okay.
It probably wouldn't be good for like a longer meet, but because high school State's kind of short, I think
So that's what I was gonna say. For these short these shorter races where you're kind of in and out and it's sprint style or whatever. I feel like my nutrition coaching card would be taken away if I say that that's okay. But if you know that it's worked for you and it feels like, and I know you've done a lot of work, Caden, as far as figuring out look at Enzo's already looking at him, 9 grams of sugar. I know Caden, for everyone who doesn't know, has done a lot of work on his nutrition, figuring out what's worked on his stomach, what's worked on his energy levels, what has been successful and what hasn't. So if you know that that works for you, then I'm not going to tell you no. But for those of you who are like, I need to find something, maybe State is not the time for you to try Rice Krispie treats. Again, trial and error during the year, during the season versus before a meet or competition is going to be what you want to do. So Ross says 8 grams of added sugar, which is the total sugar in the treat. Okay. Yeah. It's really low. Ross, if you have it in front of you, does it show you the percentage? If you're looking at total sugars, it says 8 grams, and then far right, what is the total percentage?
16%.
16%?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's not actually very high, all things considered. So yeah, I mean, knock your socks off.
Congratulations, Caden.
Caden,
Thank you.
great job.
I think it also gives like a little bit of a mental boost, before your race. It kind of, I don't know, makes you a little bit happier.
Yeah, it feels like a treat.
Nichole, the sugar gives you a little bit of a dopamine.
Yeah, I mean, listen, fake it till you make it. Is that what we're here to say? Yeah. He says, no, Gaspar, no way he gets away with that. I don't hate it. I've changed my mind on Rice Krispie treats. Great job. Again, guys, it's gonna be better than a Snickers. I usually don't eat much during meets except some pretzels. What would you suggest to do to be able to get more energy without feeling full besides the Rice Krispies? Oops. Sorry, who was that? Was that Riley? Izzy. Do you find that the pretzels aren't enough, Riley, Izzy? Or
I mean, they work, but I feel like I could be getting something more.
have you tried peanut butter filled pretzels?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Is that what you're referring to? Or you're just doing?
No, I was just talking about like regular ones, but I have eaten those and those are good too.
Yeah, because those are going to just give you a little bit more fat, a little bit more sugar. It's going to be a little denser calorically. If you know the pretzel works, that might be something where you can still not feel like you're putting in too much into your stomach if you know that you're sensitive to that, but you know that you're still getting a little bit more.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, I know
Yeah.
I know at this point for a lot of you, we've talked about this a lot and you've been thinking about it a lot more than maybe you had in the past. You've found some snacks that have worked. And if pretzels are that, then let's stick with the pretzels for sure. But if it's maybe not enough energy or not enough calories, that could be an option.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, Boyd. This feels like a gateway to Sour Patch Kids before race. No, it is not. It is not a gateway to the snack bar. We understood. How many snacks do you think we should bring for 2 days of racing? Are you talking about snacks for your full day or snacks for just primarily what you need to bring to the pool? Like the pool. That will kind of depend on how many events you have, how far apart they are, how many total hours you're there for. So it may take you going into our planning and prep first bullet point. Do you have that information yet? How soon or when do y'all find out the event schedule? Or is it like we wake up, we show up, and then we find out where we are for the day? How does it kind of run?
We have it. Like we know when we're swimming and stuff.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so you can plan. So if you know it's around 3 to 4 hours per session, and then so usually we want to be taking something in every 3 to 4 hours. You want to have something in your stomach at least 60 minutes, so at least an hour before we're getting in the pool. So look at your schedule, figure out where your events fall within that 3 to 4 hour range, and then I would plan from there. Because there's also, which I'm sure we can run into as an issue, where you pack the whole bag of pretzels. And if you've got 2 hours between your events and you're sitting there and maybe you're bored, before we know it, the whole bag of pretzels is gone and now we've overeaten, right? So there's that fine line of making sure you've packed enough, making sure you're not packing too much, and now we're just bored eating and making ourselves sick. So I would look at that schedule, figure out where your events fall, where they fall, hours spread apart, and then plan accordingly. So maybe if you have that quick turnaround, like Jack was saying, you need some of those Gatorade chews, but maybe you have like 2 hours to kill in between. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich may be enough to get you from point A to point B. And then maybe like a protein shake for when your event finishes, but you're still there for an hour. You know what I mean? Oh my God, look at Kaden. I can't. Yeah. So Boyd, I think that would kind of be, or Gaspar, who I can't remember which one of you asked the question, would be how I would suggest planning the amount of snacks you bring for the day. Any more questions about snacking on the pool deck or waiting for events and that kind of stuff? For these state meets, are y'all traveling or are they local? Anybody have anywhere you're gonna travel far and wide?
Everyone's traveling 3 hours to Sulphur.
Everyone's going to Sulphur. Beautiful.
Yes.
So that's far. Has anybody even thought yet? When is it? When do we leave? When do we go? Next weekend?
Either some of us leave on Tuesday and some of us leave on Thursday.
Okay, so it's this coming week. Has anybody thought about where we're eating? I know we've done meats in Sulphur before, right? So do we have an idea of, has anybody made any plans yet?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So like, since we're going with like our schools, and I don't even know where we're staying, but we usually stay at like some ghetto hotel.
Oh, great.
What do we do for like if they don't even have any breakfast? Like, should we just like pack like stuff?
Yeah. So if you know that the hotel is not going to have breakfast and you are not going to have time to go to breakfast, I'm assuming it's an early start. Y'all have an early start?
Like the D1 kids are swimming at night, so we actually start later.
Oh, at night.
We'll
Okay.
have breakfast and lunch before we swim.
Oh, okay. So that's not a problem, but you can go to breakfast or you can bring it and have it in your hotel. If you're bringing, so most hotel rooms will have a microwave, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So instant oatmeal is a microwavable great option for the morning. If cereal's your thing, you can bring cereal, like a non-sugary, a lower sugar cereal granola, and you have a fridge, you can bring milk. You can make something ahead of time, like make some good healthy muffins that you can pack and bring for breakfast. If you know that you have time to go somewhere, you can find breakfast, find a smoothie shop, look up on your phone some places where you could find something. Or if you want to make sure that you're like in control of what you're ordering, you can pack some things for the room, like something you can microwave. If you get there, you should have a refrigerator so you can load up maybe on, like, most grocery stores will have like fresh cut fruit bowls. You can bring some fruit, some yogurt, granola. You can do stuff like that you know that you can keep in the fridge, and you can just swing into a grocery store when you guys get there.
So another problem that I've run into, especially last year at our high school state meets, is that the coaching staff is a little bit different, and they might not be as committed to, ensuring there are, healthy options that are beneficial to our performance,
Right.
At the meet. So like last year, for example, me and my teammates had to go to a restaurant for dinner that, literally only had fried food. I mean, only. And so that kind of became a problem, and we didn't eat much and ended up, snacking on what we had at the hotel room.
Sure.
And so we don't really know how it's going to play out this year, because, along with being committed to our nutrition, our coaches are stellar at communication. So how do we pack to ensure that just in case we run into that situation again, we can, be well fueled?
So if you know that you're going to be, because like you said, a lot of things sometimes are out of our control. You get stuck at a restaurant where there really aren't the best options. And if you were to order the quote unquote healthiest option, it may not be enough on your plate to fuel what your body's used to. I would suggest going to a grocery store either before you leave or once you get there. A lot of grocery stores will have, like, I know Rouse's, you can get sandwiches, you can get a wrap, you can get stuff kind of pre-made and have it in your fridge at the hotel room, so that if you know that you get in a pickle like that where you get stuck and there was no great dinner option, you won't go hungry. You'll at least have something in the fridge in the hotel. And even if you don't need it, you end up having a great scenario play out, and you don't need that sandwich or that wrap or whatever you maybe picked up as like a safety net, at least you have it there, and we're not stuck with a vending machine or the fried seafood basket if that's the only option.
Nichole, some of them are doing bus travel, but I know that that can be limiting. However, there should be more than enough parents tagging along that might be able to do a separate run to a store for the group. So it's all about kind of finding the obstacles and then trying to figure out the ways around it. So if the team's not going to take you to the places you need, communicate with your families or a family member of one person that can go to the store for you guys and take care of it that way.
Totally. Great. Yeah, don't just, if you've come this far and it is a priority to you, which it should be at this stage, don't just throw your hands up and be like, well, it's out of my control. Kind of dig around and see, you know, what your options are, whose mom or dad or parent tagged along and can maybe help. Figure out, so does a team, I'm assuming since you're with your team, somebody picks a restaurant and y'all go together as a team?
Yep. So our coach last year had picked this restaurant, and we went 2 nights in a row. So we went Friday night or we went Thursday night and Friday night, both nights before our competition. And so we had the same problem twice.
And that's tricky. And if you get stuck with the fried food option, try, I mean, do what you can. Ask if there's an option to have it grilled. If you can't, if your stomach can't handle it, you'd rather avoid it. Do what you can. I know that's kind of a crappy circumstance, but yeah, like Ross said, try to coordinate around if it's an option for you. Italian should be a good, you should be able to find something good at Italian. I saw they said that Italian is one night for them. So y'all should be able to find something good at an Italian restaurant as a healthy option. Pastas, grilled protein. All right, keep them coming. This was good. Who else has other questions about planning, prepping, travel for? Anybody have anything that like went sideways last year that didn't work that they're going to avoid this year, other than, I know Lee said the restaurant thing was kind of a pain. Anything that happened last year that you plan on remedying and fixing this year?
Well, I guess this isn't necessarily a bad thing that happened, but last week when we had the metro meet, it was actually more of a good thing that I found. I tend to like having like foods in like a big lunchbox where it's like a bag of like pretzels or like wheat thins instead of having like a sandwich or granola bar, because I'm one of those people that have to eat the entire thing before I consider it done.
So going with more of like a small pre-packaged versus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what's your opinion on wheat thins? That's actually a question that I had.
They're fine. They're not my favorite. They're not as healthy as they're branded to be, but they're fine.
I asked you about Cheez-Its and you disapproved of that, so I had to find an alternative.
They're fine. They're better multi-grain alternative. Great job though fixing the Cheez-It snack. Anyone else? That was a good call. Like if you know that you're prone, especially if it's a 3-hour travel, y'all are in the car. And I mean, I love a road trip snack like the rest of us, but getting a good portion bag versus the family size bag of whatever your snack is going to be a better option. Don't let the road trip, send you into just like a gummy bear, Sour Patch Kid spiral, because it can happen.
What do you think about goldfish?
I mean, it's a baked snack. These are all snacks. So like going back to like the wheat thins, the Cheez-Its, the goldfish, these are all baked snacks that are totally fine as like normal day addition to your lunch, something quick. there's no real nutritional density to them, right? So y'all know the difference when I'm talking about like what we need to be eating to make us successful pre-practice, pre-meet, pre-competition, for mealtime. And then there's the snacks that, because I know y'all are teens and, you know, sometimes we just need something quick. And it's easy. It's fine. But if you're like really hungry and you need like a real snack, and we're trying to be conscious of putting better options into our body, there are definitely better options than the goldfish, the wheat thins, the Cheez-Its, the Cheetos. You know what I'm talking about? These like baked chip alternatives. They're not terrible, but when we're trying to find the most nutritionally dense snack, they fall short. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So like if you know you need some like fluff filler here and there, it's not a big deal, but we can just, at this stage, I know y'all can find better, smarter snacks, especially for the weekend leading or the days leading into a competition. I don't mind the Built Bars, Ricky. I actually bought a box for myself recently. They're not terrible. You're getting a good, decent amount of protein in there. It's not a meal replacement by any means. Some of these bars people look at as a meal replacement. It's a good way to sneak in additional protein if you know you're falling short on your protein. So like a Built Bar on the bus or however y'all are getting to Sulphur, sure. Some people don't love the taste of them. Any protein bars kind of, they're definitely not a Snickers, right? They're not a candy bar, but they're not bad.
Okay, what about between events?
What do we, Built Bar for between events?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. If you know that it's not, for some, that bar may sit kind of heavy on their stomach. If you know it won't for you, then that's fine. Again, that's going to be a judgment call on your digestion. But yeah, it's better than a Snickers. What do you think is the healthiest meal to eat at an Italian restaurant? A lean protein, like a chicken, a fish, a seafood over some pasta. I would, for the health and for the fact that y'all are going into an event, the next day, or maybe even later that day if you're going to Italian for the afternoon, I would skip the buttery cream sauces and maybe just do a red sauce or like maybe an olive oil based sauce. The cream butter is just kind of like a sniper in the bushes on our stomachs. Sometimes we can handle it fine, and sometimes you may have some really upset stomach from the additional dairy. So I would stick to the red sauce or an olive oil based sauce. But usually Italian restaurants will have some kind of grilled protein option. They have some great salads you can put protein over, but again, you know, I'm going to promote getting you some carbs in there. Same question for barbecue. Barbecue can be pretty healthy because there's always going to be some kind of vegetable. There's going to be great options for some lean, unfried barbecue style meat. So like chicken, pulled pork, all that's going to be totally fine. What's something good for in between races that isn't heavy? Again, Mia, that's going to depend on how much time you have between your events, between your races. I love the pretzels. I love a whole piece of fruit like an apple or banana because that's nice and carb dense and has sugars in it for your energy. Especially if you have trouble with holding too much in our stomach. I find that a piece of fruit is going to give you enough, or Rice Krispies if you want to go Caden's route. The whole fruit, like the apple or the banana, is going to give you enough calories and enough carbs to sustain you, but maybe not feel as filling on your stomach as a sandwich. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich is fine. Some granola bars would be fine. Those peanut butter energy balls, those aren't super heavy, but again, kind of calorie dense, like a piece of fruit would be, where it's giving you enough bang for your buck without leaving you super full. Rice Krispies, apparently. What else? Any other questions about state before we move into some hydration chit chat? Okay, I'm going to go into hydration, but if you have other questions going back to state prep and planning, just drop them in the comment section or the chat section. Okay, so this is everybody that I got. I know I'm missing some. That's okay. I just went through each of y'all's log and did a range of where we kind of fall. If you look, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of y'all, 7-ish, that got over 100 ounces. I'm pretty sure all of you weigh over 100 pounds. So I would say we're all falling a little short. Caden Boyd and Julian got the highest ounces most consistently. I don't know why there was one day Caden had 25 ounces, but other than that, everything else was pretty high. But again, the goal is half to whole of your body weight in ounces. So like if we only had 20 ounces a day, it's not really cutting it. 35 ounces, 25 ounces, 16 ounces a day, it's not really cutting it. I'm sure doing this and logging this, it brought it to y'all's attention like, oh shoot, I was really kind of low today, or you know, I kind of missed the mark on where I should have been for the day. Now this, when I say it's a half to a whole of your body weight in ounces, that's pretty beefy for a lot of people. Y'all are not a lot of people. Y'all are athletes. So we need to make it a priority, right? I'm drinking my water right now. I certainly have not had enough water today. I'm not a teen athlete. So y'all really need to make it a priority, especially since we just did this and y'all are leaving for state. Like it starts tonight. Start chugging. Y'all need to go into this weekend hydrated. One of the things I did notice, and I mentioned it to Coach Ross before we jumped on this call, most of you across the board, almost all of you, you were lowest on your hydration Fridays, Saturdays, or Sundays. I'm assuming, did y'all notice that when you started logging and checking? Did y'all notice your weekends were lower than every other day of the week? Some of y'all weren't, but majority of the logs were the lowest on the weekends. And it's most likely because your schedule is not as strict and rigid during the weekends than it is during the weekdays when you're at school. I'm sure a lot of y'all have a water bottle that you pack and fill before you go to school in the morning. You probably fill it during the day. It's a little bit more part of your routine of going to school and being in classes, and maybe because you're just sitting in class, you're drinking water, where on a Saturday, you're probably running and gunning and you're in and out and driving around, and it's not as part of your day like it would be during the week. So that's something to think about, because y'all still have practices on the weekend. I've been there. So you want to make sure you're still taking in enough on those days. That was my big takeaway, was that we're a little low on the mark. Most of us are really low on the mark. And the weekends we go a little dehydrated. What are some takeaways y'all noticed after logging your hydration for the week? Did anybody notice the weekend?
I just noticed that it like varied a lot, like day to day. Like some days I would like be consciously really trying to drink a lot of water, and then other days I was, just kind of disinterested in water. And it was kind of disgusting.
Did you find that on the days that you drank more, were you thirstier, or was just you were being conscious of it?
I was just like, I need to finish this water bottle just so I can refill it again. And
so it was effort versus like, oh, I'm thirstier today.
Yes.
Because I do find, I think I've mentioned this before when we talked about hydration, that some people are just naturally thirstier than others, right? Some people getting their ounces in a day is no big deal, where some of us, like myself, I have to really force myself and make sure that I've had my water for the day. So that's interesting. Anybody else have any takeaways? No?
That one day that I got like 25 ounces,
Yeah,
that was the day I accidentally forgot my water bottle at home.
that makes sense.
So that,
So you
yeah,
just whatever you had at the end of the day. And if it was
It
a
was
day that
just
you maybe didn't have a workout,
that was that Friday where we don't have a workout also.
so yeah. But we always have a workout on a Saturday, and we got to go
Yeah.
into those workouts with hydration. But I totally get if you forget it, it's not there, you can't drink it.
Yeah, so and I don't really want to cram water just like at the end of the day.
No, because then you could potentially be up all night going to the bathroom.
Or like I wouldn't be able to eat like my dinner
You're full.
Mhm.
Totally. That makes sense.
So I just like was like, I'm not gonna cram in water and take away from the like nutritional food,
right.
because I think that the food's definitely more important
Agreed.
for
But
a
yeah,
Saturday
and you're
morning.
usually drinking with your meal, or you
Mhm.
should be drinking with your meal. Does anybody have one of those bottles that has like the ounce marks on it to kind of keep us on track, and you can kind of see it through the day? If you know that you fell short on this list, or when you were going through logging, you're like, man, I thought I was drinking way more water than this. And then you logged 25 ounces that day or 16 ounces that day. Getting one of those bottles can be really helpful. You can get them on Amazon for cheap. I'm sure you could pick it up at like Walmart or a local shop as well. But Amazon, if you order it tonight, you'll probably have it in the morning. And it just holds you accountable. It shows you where to market. And if you don't have the time or the flexibility during the day to keep refilling those 12-ounce normal size bottles of water, it saves you from having to refill, because you usually can get to that mark, the whole bottle's your day. Did anybody notice how they felt on the days that they got a decent amount in? Are any of y'all body feeling aware of when you're hydrated versus when you're dehydrated? Can you feel the difference? Not really.
Sometimes I just feel like gross.
When
Like-
you're dehydrated?
Yeah, like lightheaded.
Yeah. Lightheaded. I'll get a headache. My tongue's dry. Your pee's yellow. Pee should be clear. And if I just saw Julian said, when I'm hydrated, I don't have to use the bathroom as much during practice. Your body will adjust, right? So if you just start today and decide that like, I'm going to drink 130 ounces today, and you don't normally do that, you're going to be up peeing frequently. Your body will adjust eventually. I got a headache the day I drank 40. Hazy, did you drink 40 like in a small period of time, or was it like through the day?
Yeah, it was through the day. I'm sorry, I meant 60.
60. But you got a headache that day? And it
Yeah.
was like spread out?
Well, it was like in the middle of the day.
Interesting. I know you can get, for example, when I first bought my big jug of like 120-ounce jug of water, I had a big straw in it as well. I had terrible stomach. My stomach was so upset, so distended and bloated because I tried to drink it as fast as I could. I was drinking out of a straw. It was causing all this extra air in my stomach. Were you drinking it out of a straw? Just like in a
Yeah, I
bottle?
have a 40-ounce thing that I carry around school with a
Mm.
straw in it. So I
And it's
usually
not-
drink like 2 of those a day, but
Okay.
I didn't quite get there that day.
So you said you got a headache because 40 was too low.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. I thought you were saying that it was too much, but good. Okay. So that makes sense. Perfect. Yeah. We don't. So when we're low, the headache is real. Sometimes the nausea is real. Your lips can feel chapped. Workouts can feel harder. What else? Any other takeaways from the hydration logging? Hopefully it was kind of eye-opening for some of y'all who were low. Or maybe answered some questions like Izzy said, I had a headache that day that I was too low. So you can kind of remedy some things that you might have going on if you know you're low. Did all of y'all, most of y'all drink other things other than just your water, or most people just drinking water during the day? Sparkling water, soft drinks, anything else?
I drink Powerade. Even like I know you're not supposed to when you don't swim, but I drink it at lunch sometimes.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I drink liquid IV every day. Good. LaCroix during dinner sometimes. Fine. Milk. Fine. All those things are fine. So remember, like you're also, these other things still play into your hydration. You're still taking in additional liquids, which is great, right? We wanted to focus on what the water should be because of y'all's athletic status, especially so y'all can see where you are on the spectrum of where we should be. And hopefully, if knowing that, how many of y'all, like because you knew you were going to have to log for that week, intentionally like upped your water game? Yeah, it kind of made you conscious, like, okay, I'm gonna start drinking more because I have to write it down. I do that with a lot of my clients that I nutrition coach. Having to write down what you've eaten or what you've drank hold you a little bit more accountable. So maybe keeping a little tally through your day is going to be what keeps you on top of your water intake. Now that you did a week of tracking it, which is fantastic, and you know where you kind of fall right now, keep that up, especially because y'all have state coming up. I want y'all going into this next week hydrated before we compete. All right. Any other questions? This why was supposed to be back to when I asked, why do you think your weekends were so low? Is water with tea packets good? What are tea packets? Like tea bags? Or like the little Crystal Light shaky packets?
They're like the little Crystal Light. Like we have like a big jug and we'll fill it up with water and then we'll put like the Crystal Light and like, I feel like that's what I get most of my water from, which probably isn't good.
As long as it's not the very, very high sugary ones. Because there are Crystal Light packs where like you can make the big jug or the, big thermos of tea or lemonade and it's 0 sugars. We just don't want to be sipping on a sugary drink all day long. You know what I mean? So if it's low in sugar, when I make my lemonade, because sometimes I'll keep a pitcher of lemonade in the fridge, I water it way down compared to what the packet says too. So it's not as concentrated. But still try to make sure you're taking in like some additional water.
Okay.
Is it okay to consume a lot of water before your race? Yeah. I mean, we want to stay hydrated. but again, you don't want to feel too bloated and full. So it's better to start your hydration during the week before, right? So when you don't feel like you've got to chug a ton of water the morning of the race, right? We should start hydrating specifically for a competition, a race, a meet, whatever you call it, in advance. But I know if you know that heavy feeling in your stomach, if you've drank like too much right before, that may make some of you feel a little nauseous. So going back to, again, like food, what you're eating right before a race or right before you get in the water may feel too heavy on your stomach. So, know your body, know what you need. Does that help, Truman?
Yeah, I usually find myself drinking water before my race because I feel it like kind of calms my nerves almost.
Good.
So I'll be right behind the block, and I just don't want to push it to the point where I'm drinking like too much water right before I
Yeah, I
dive in.
take small sips, don't like chug a bottle, but yeah, take some small sips if that's like your thing, your nerve calming thing. What else, guys? Any other questions about hydration? Takeaways about hydration? Anything about going back to those snacks? Planning for this week? Anything that's totally off topic that you've been meaning to ask me that now you've got my face and you have a question? Anything? Cool. Was this helpful? Did tracking the water similar to tracking the food, little eye-opening, helpful for you? Educational? Good. I got some thumbs ups. Thumbs up. Good. Good. All right, Coach, do you have anything else to add to the chat this evening?
No, we're good.
Sweet. Last call for questions, guys, comments, concerns. You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for participating, guys. This is like, I like this. I like having these chats versus me just spewing out all kinds of information. Have you found that this style presentation where we're sharing and asking has been a little bit more beneficial to put into practice some of these nutritional tips that we've gone through over the year? Cool. What kind of water is the best water in your opinion? What? Julian? Water?
The wet kind, right?
Yeah. The kind that comes out of a bottle, your refrigerator, the faucet. Unless are you talking about like purified, distilled? I mean, regular water, sparkling's fine. The thing with sparkling rainwater, no, the brand. Oh, I don't care. The brand, that's kind of preference. That's taste preference. I personally don't have a preference. Some people are like, oh, I can't drink Dasani. I only can drink whatever.
That's marketing preference.
Yeah, totally. What's your price point? What label do you think is the prettiest? Everyday gas bar. Is Smart Water better? I don't think so. I think my husband likes Smart Water better. Again, I'm just not very picky person. I don't think one's gonna be better than the other. I use my refrigerator water. I know alkaline water has a big push right now, with these little water shops that you can go and get your water purified. If that blows your dress up, sure. I think Enzo had asked if sparkling versus regular water. The thing with sparkling water, you're still getting the water, right? There's no calories, there's no sugar. It's just added carbonation. that's really filling. So like, I'm not going to be able to drink as much water if I'm drinking sparkling as I would if it was still. I can't. So that's why like still's fine. I mean, sparkling's fine. Like mealtime, you know, you want to sip on it because you need to switch it up because regular water is boring. Sometimes I totally get that. It's flavored, whatever. For me, and I think for most people, it is a little bit more filling. So we don't drink as much. And if that's the only place you're getting your regular water, like your water intake from, try to cut back on the sparkling and add in a bottle of still just so you can get the volume down. Also, sometimes it can cause like gas and bubbles in your belly and upset stomach. Anyone else? Final call? All right, guys. Well, good luck this week. Have fun. Eat your good food. Put down the Sour Patch Kids. Pick up the water. And apparently Rice Krispie treats are now a thing. Who knew? All right, guys. Well, have a great night. Thanks for participating. I really appreciate it.